Look at this. I got headphones on. I got a mic going. Baby.
If
Huh?
only people could see you now.
Hey, no video. We've gone through this before.
All right,
No
all right,
video.
all right. Welcome to This Commerce Life. This is a podcast aimed at small, medium entrepreneurs focused on commerce. I'm Phil, your host, and Kenny, your co-host, will join us as well. And we're going to talk to you about the world of retail and commerce and how things are changing in the world. It's nice to meet you.
Absolutely, you too.
Yeah.
You got is that your office background, or you got like a Zoom thing going on, or it's a Zoom thing and that's your office background?
So it's a Zoom thing. The background is one that I had my graphic design team make for me. So when I'm at the airport, you can't tell where I'm sitting.
Which office cubicle at the airport you're hiding in?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. You know,
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Right now I'm in Denver. Where are you guys?
Yeah.
I'm in Vancouver.
Yeah, and I'm in
And he's
Toronto.
on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
He's in Toronto.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
nice to meet you. We
in Denver for work, or you live in Denver? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live
there.
here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been raining all day, which doesn't sound like much being from Vancouver. But it literally never rains all day in Colorado, and it has rained for 24 hours. And
Wow.
I've lived here all my life. I can't tell you the last time that happened, but
Seriously?
I can think of.
Yeah.
It'll rain for an hour, 2 hours, but never in the morning, and definitely not all day.
I had a cousin who lived in Boulder, so I spent a good chunk of time there, but you're right. I don't actually remember it. I don't really remember rain at all in Colorado.
Yeah, not a lot. Not a lot.
Yeah. It's definitely opposite to Vancouver, Kenny.
I'm used to Vancouver. I've only been to Denver 3 times. You know, 2-3 days at a time. They were nice each time I was there. So
Yeah.
it looks like it might snow, but even I don't think it goes crazy there. It looks like it's pretty dry, pretty arid. Up high. So I don't even know how much snow you guys get. And mountains will, obviously, but
Denver gets a fair amount of snow,
Yeah.
but seems like less and less every year, actually.
I think we're all feeling less and less every year.
We're all feeling that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember growing up to snow piles, you know, when the snowblower would go by, be like 6 to 8 feet high. I don't even think they have snowblowers in trail anymore.
Uh,
Oh,
They don't do it. I mean, you just don't get snow. We used to get a lot of snow. I
yeah.
don't think we get a lot of snow anymore. Maybe
We're like that. We talk about it every year. I think we used to. I mean, you know, when you're a kid, you remember like getting, you know, waist high in snow. But yeah, we don't get
No,
But you might get like 1 or 2, you know, kind of big snowfalls, and that's it now.
no, those days seem to be gone. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's global warming or not, but anyway.
Who knows, man?
I'm coming back slowly. There we
That's
go.
all right.
We're just trying to figure out what the hell you're doing. You look like a Seinfeld episode.
You look like you're disappearing there.
I'm camped out of my basement right now, sitting on the couch,
Yeah.
and I need something to get my computer up a little higher.
Yeah.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hold
got you.
still. How about that?
No, it's okay.
Yeah, right.
It's all
Okay,
good,
I'm
man.
on a laptop. I'm moving all the time.
yeah.
Don't sweat it.
Yeah.
It's
What's
not
good?
that formal, right? Trust me. If you think there's a lot of rules on this one, you're on the definitively the wrong podcast.
Yeah. We're
Not prepared.
yeah.
Very few rules. We just kind of go with
Good.
it.
Yeah. So this is cool. We've got Kyle Ewing on, and he is the president and founder of Terraslate, which is pretty cool. We'll get into Terraslate and what it is. We met you through Kent Fenwick at ClearBank, now ClearCo, with all their fancy funding money and all that cool stuff that that he and Andrew were able to pull off, and Michelle, obviously. So, but we're excited to have you on. We think you've got a super cool product that we'd love to talk about. I guess as you heard from Kenny, like we're unrehearsed and really kind of an ad hoc. I guess the way we like to do this is if you kind of tell us a little bit about you and where you come from and how you got to where you were, and then we'll see how the whole thing unfolds. Really.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here, and I love Kent and Andrew and Michelle and the guys at ClearCo. So yeah, I'm thrilled to be on the show. I listened to a couple of episodes.
Oh, awesome.
You guys had me laughing. I like the D'Souza episode. Of course. and shout out, he's invested in my company, so I gotta plug him when I can.
You might as well, right?
Yeah.
I love the show.
Yeah. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, he looked awesome. Genuinely surprised, because I think he had asked us what everybody asks us, right? Like, what should I prepare? What kind of questions? And we said, no, just come on, just come hang out. And he was
what do you want to talk about?
Well, he looked super he looked really like skeptical, and then got on the show and he was like, oh, you guys really like this, right? Like,
yeah, pretty much 24/7. It doesn't change when we get off this. Pretty much the same.
Yeah.
I like it. And I like the open format is kind of a nice change. Usually you get the questions ahead of time, and then you have to prepare like a really well thought out, very distinct and concise answer. And oh my gosh, free flow it's so much better.
Well, it's easier for us too. Otherwise, we have to sit down and think of the question. And I got to think of what the answer could be. And it's too much freaking work. It's overrated. Just rather, hear your story. What are you about? What did you do? Why are you doing what you do? How did you come up with this company?
So
all those things.
I'll jump in and answer that. I think you already asked, and apologize for getting us derailed already.
No, not at all.
Nope.
So I started Terraslate in 2015 officially. It was about a year before that I got started in the research and development. And what we make is a waterproof paper, of all things. So it's paper that's 100% waterproof and rip proof. You can print it through any laser printer, and you can write on it with a ballpoint pen. So ask me what it's for. That's a great question. Thanks, Phil.
Good job, Phil. You're prepared.
Woo! Right along the script. You know what I mean? That's
man. You're killing it. Good question.
That's tight interviewing right there.
So what we do with it is we sell it to folks that need durable materials and prints. And you say, okay, Kyle, this is great, but the print industry is dead. And I would say, yes, absolutely. But Xerox and all our raw material vendors love us because we're on the opposite trajectory of paper as an industry. Paper as an industry goes down 6% a year. We're growing like 40 to 50% per year. So we have customers coming to us out of the woodwork. Like, talk about an e-com show. Oh my goodness. We're working with everybody from like your local food co-op and grocery store. We make the material that they print the price tags on, to restaurants. We ship hundreds of thousands of restaurant menus every month.
Right.
It's really cool. We just developed
a lot of those. I was thinking writing pads, right? That's all you think of.
Yep.
Okay,
lots of those too. But yeah, man, menus are just gangbusters after COVID. I mean, we survived COVID okay. It was slow there for a bit, but then it started coming back, and now we literally can't keep up with it. I walked in with a bag of Chipotle this evening, sat down with my wife, ate it, put my daughter to bed, and like here I am all in like 30 minutes. So I'm thrilled. The products, beyond that, we print the pre-flight manuals and checklists and in-flight manuals for the U.S. Army's Apache attack helicopters. So those are the really angry looking ones. Yeah. What else? We do a lot with education, a lot of hospitality, lots of stuff with hospitals. It's really interesting stuff. I never grew up thinking I'd be a paper salesman, but this is my third company, and I'm thrilled. It's been a great ride.
See, I had you on outside only. You know what? I seriously, I was thinking, okay, it must be doing like definitively either whether it's notepads to write in, like for pipeline people or for construction guys. Like I had you completely outside, having people write on it or reading off it. But that industry, I didn't even think of the inside stuff.
Yeah, exactly. We sell a lot of blank paper that people write on and print. And it works great for that. So those exact people you were just mentioned, like field workers and linemen and oil and gas exploration guys. But it's also a lot of interior stuff because it's the materials that get handled a lot.
Right.
So like you go to a restaurant, do you want a menu they have to reprint and throw away every single time? Or do you want one that they can wash with soap and water or wipe clean?
Environmentally, it's nicer, everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, we just this last week actually launched a new adaptation of our materials specifically for menus. And they now have a antimicrobial and antiviral coating on them. So they kind of self-sanitize as people use them. That way, if somebody forgets to wipe it, it's still going to be pretty good at killing germs.
Wow.
Cool. So you told people what you do. So why? Like what brought this? Like why this? Like first off, how did you even think of this? And then once you thought of it, why'd you do it?
Yeah, good question. When I was in school, my roommates and a few of our other friends all lost their passports while they were studying abroad. And it turned into a whole disaster because it was right before they were supposed to come home, and then they had to start the next semester and blah, 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 blah. Oh my gosh, you guys are a mess. So I tried to create a backup copy of your passport. So something that's more durable than just a photocopy. That way, when your roommates go abroad and they lose their passports, they have this one, and it's waterproof and rip proof, and they can take it to the embassy, and the embassy will then reissue a new passport right away. So it was cool in that sense. The bad news was I had to do an initial run of about 100,000 sheets of paper, and I was selling 2 backup copies of your passport a week at I think it was less than $10. So my payback was, I don't even know, 250 years or something.
You didn't know enough people with passports.
Or that's a lot of friends. Or that's a lot of friends, right? Or you just made 100,000 friends or something.
Oh, man. 150 years dead.
Yeah, I think I sold 20, and then I was like, okay, this is not a business. I'm spending
bad business
$400 to make $7-8.
Yeah, cool idea. Not a business.
Not a business. And so my basement was covered in this stuff. I was literally had to move out of it because I didn't want to pay for a warehouse. And at one point, a guy called me and he said, "Hey, Kyle, I like this product. I've got one for each of my kids, but hey, where'd you get this paper? And can I buy some?" And I was like, "Well, shit, yeah, man. It's 2-for-1 Tuesdays because I got a basement to clear out, So I shipped him 2 boxes of paper for the price of one. And he said, "This stuff's great. Send me 2 more." And then I got a whole bunch more locations. So that's kind of how we got started. And he was an oil and gas guy. And I guess what they do is they have their field workers with trucks out driving around, and then they put a printer in the truck. And so they print in real time, and then they take it outside. But if it's raining,
well, the elements are the elements, right? Rain, snow, absolutely. Mud, whatever.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's where I was going. That's what I thought the application would have been. Wow.
And you would have been right. I was a little slow to the game on that one, but luckily at halftime, I think I caught up and figured out at least a couple of things along the way.
On your 10th sale of 2-for-1 to the guy, you thought, shit, there's something here. I only got 3 boxes left, but I got the game figured out.
Right. And then we kind of get into restaurant menus, which we really like, because just going into this local taco bar with my wife, we're kind of friendly with the owners from being in there. And he asked me if I could print his menus on this paper. And I said, well, I don't know, man. So I printed him up a set. And that same week, he asked me how quickly can I get all of my other restaurants using the same stuff. And so that was another aha moment of okay, I don't just sell the blank paper. I print it and I print menus on it because it works great for that.
So where did you find the paper originally? Where'd you come up? You just walking down the street and found paper on the ground?
Yeah, a friend just rolled me up something, because we're in Colorado and it wouldn't burn. I'm totally kidding.
So the application of that was crappy. I figured that part out.
Yeah, it doesn't burn for anything. What was the question?
So the ideas are great, and I love the fact you want to do duplicate passports, but that wouldn't necessarily motivate me to say, "Wow, I got to go find waterproof, non-rippable paper." Just put it on 20-pound bond, send the picture.
Yeah. The way you do that is you get on the phone and you start asking who you know. Hey, Phil, Kenny, who do you know that's a chemical engineer? And you say, well, I don't know anybody, but I know this one guy. Okay, I call that guy. And who do you know that's a chemical engineer? Okay, you need to call this guy. Okay, well, that guy didn't want to work with you. So you kind of do this till you get somebody who's willing to waste your money. And then you just start iterating. Hey, here's what I'm trying to do. I need really thin synthetic material of some kind that will not melt in a commercial printer that I can write on. And, the first 10 iterations were garbage. One was too brittle, and one you couldn't print on, and one melted in the printer. And I ruined the printer. And, so you iterate again and again and again, and you throw money at it until your stomach hurts. And then they tell you, oh, just one more iteration and we've got this. And then, 6, 7 more. So
that's how it plays though, right?
That's how it is. And the guys are like, we don't know if this will work, but we can try. And then we got to something. So it's pretty cool stuff.
So you went right to a chemical engineer. You didn't go. And the reason I'm saying that, I bought stationery when I was a buyer for a retail chain in Canada. And I'm trying to remember, it was 5 or 6 years ago. I'm at the Canton Fair in China, and there was paper, and I can't remember. I got it in my head that it was either made out of rock or it was made out of stone material or something. And it was, the non-rippable, like it was really cool. It had a really nice feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. As opposed to going to a chemical engineer and trying to reinvent the wheel. Like you didn't think first to maybe phone paper guys or somebody like, not trying to say you didn't do the right thing. I'm happy for you. Like, I'm just thinking it might've been other angles.
Staples.
Like if you want a car, you phone car guys. You don't necessarily phone the guy to build the tires. So you don't phone a rubber guy and say, okay, I'm going to work on the car up, just throwing it at you. But
that's awesome. So I did try other different types of material that's on the market. There really wasn't anything that did all the things that I needed. And the closest thing was Tyvek. But the problem with Tyvek is that it's not heat resistant basically at all. So if you put this in like a desktop home laser printer,
right,
it'll melt in 2 seconds and it ruins the printer. It will seize. And so I did try the stuff on the market, but I couldn't find something that I was ready to put my name on and sell.
Right.
Because all of them were, for one reason,
flaw somehow
not that good. And the biggest one is that people, obviously there's laminating, but besides that, people for a while were taking like a piece of paper and then putting some type of a hydrophobic coating on the top, hydrophobic coating on the bottom, and they're calling it waterproof paper. The issue with that though is if you put it in water gets in through the edge of the sheet and degrades it from the inside.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't work at all. A lot of people were repping that kind of thing for a while. And then other folks, you couldn't print at any speed because it was too staticky. And then it's got to not fade in the sun. I mean, it's got a million properties. So the answer is I did try to find it. Couldn't find something that I liked. And then when it went ahead and started developing.
The natural progression though is typically like you would make a few phone calls. You can't find this paper you want. And just so we're all clear, like 99.9, just call it a day and either think of something else or just go with normal paper and laminate it. But you decided to continue to persist on this. And this is still from the idea, like this is still working on friends' passports and shit, right? Like, I'm just amazed at this story. That's why Phil and I love doing this podcast. Yeah. I'd love to I'd love to get into people's head and try to understand how you guys get these cool, far-fetched ideas and you just don't let them go. Like you just kept going, which is persistence.
It's great that you asked that. That's like really good podcast question, Kenny, because every other podcast and whatever in the world, they skip right over that. I mean, it's what the story. Because I think Phil and I like the
stories. That's why we love to what's in your head. Like, why'd you do that? Why didn't you just quit?
Well, and there's a fine line, right? There's a fine line between, because we get people on the podcast where there's a moment where we'll go, whoa, that was too far. Like, you really shouldn't have gone that far. Like we have one lady on who just knew she had the idea, and then she went and printed boxes before she was ever ready. And Kenny and I both went, well, that's crazy talk. Like, why would you do that? But it's like, there's a line of, like, where you got to is the far edge of persistent stubbornness, and
there's like a rational thought stops,
right? Like,
and then you start thinking, okay, I think you're being a little irrational now. Like,
and then like she went off the deep end, right? So we're, like that edge is super interesting.
Yeah, I think people, I can't remember who said this, but it's as old as time, basically, that an entrepreneur jumps off the cliff and then they try to figure out how to build themselves an airplane on the way down.
Yeah.
The truth is that, I mean, that's cute, but really what it is you jumped off the cliff because you wanted to make some money, and then you tried to invent a parachute and then realized you didn't know how or what it should be made out of. And then you banged yourself along the cliff on the way down. And then you went, oh shit, I should build an airplane. And then you're ripping the sticks out of your head that have come from the cliff. And you start to like whittle yourself an airplane. And then you have an airplane. And then right before it hits the ground, you then have to make and sell more airplanes to everybody else that jumped off the cliff so that you can all land and not die. And so I don't think there's any rational thought in it. I think it's just like you're taking it one step at a time. You're like, okay, here's a bad idea. I mean, a great idea. And then, step one, you get on the phone and they're like, oh, that's maybe a cool idea. And then, it doesn't work and it doesn't work. I don't know what makes the next step happen. Mm-hmm. I think it's just an innate entrepreneur thing. And it's, because if you got to the first hard bit and gave up, you wouldn't be an entrepreneur anymore. You just go get a job because it's way easier, and you might make a lot more money.
Well, it's not money that typically drives it, right? And I think that's why we Phil and I love these stories that go down those paths, because it's not typically money. Like, what's the story of Edison? How many light bulbs? Like 10,000 bulbs or some stupid number that didn't work, and you just kept going and kept thinking like after a while, like, really? I just give up. I mean, find something else to do. Like, I mean, the light bulb. Thank God he finished that one. It was a nice idea. But you get to the point where you're trying to get into an entrepreneur's head and think, what keeps you going past the point where 99.9 would have just said, nah, you know what?
I mean, do you want to know the truth? Are we gonna get real and wish we took one less step forward? Because I'll tell you.
Yeah, no.
I'll tell you this, and I'm gonna get 100 text messages as soon as people hear your episode. Okay, so like,
hey, that means we get 100 listeners, Phil.
Yeah.
Or the same listener just sending me 100 text messages being really pissed off.
Okay.
So the answer is that it is about the money, because entrepreneurship is too hard to do just for a passion. It literally is. I don't think I've ever met an entrepreneur that has a self-sustaining business that did it for fully altruistic reasons, because it's too painful. It's too painful.
Start that way, but you slowly realize that is a nice idea, and the ideology is really cute and very very fundamentally reassuring, makes you feel good, but it doesn't pay a shitload of bills.
Well, and it doesn't, it can only keep you going so far, because once you run out of money, it doesn't matter how passionate you are, you have to.
Yeah, nobody else cares.
Move on, So I think entrepreneurs love to spin the story, and the one that I like to spin is that I started this company because I wanted to reduce the impact on the earth and not cut down so many trees. Like, that is exactly true. But that's not why you go through the pain and blow 3 mortgage payments to fill your basement with paper that you don't have a way to sell. I mean, come on.
Well, you sold 20.
Yeah.
Come on. Before you had to go discount, you were getting close to crushing it. Maybe you shouldn't have given up on that part. You were probably that close.
That's true. That's true. I think that's called a pivot. At least I hope so.
I think you pivoted well.
But yeah. So I mean, it is the money. That's
awesome.
What motivates you. And that's what you're like, okay, I think this is going to be something. Yeah. I think I can not go back to being a management consultant. I can go do this. Yeah. And if I'm not successful, I could go back. But I think there's money to make here, and then I don't have to be a consultant. So that's the motivation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Wow.
I think that makes sense.
It's awesome.
Good for you. I mean, that's pretty cool. So you went to your chemical engineer guy, finally figures out, or girl, whoever it was, figured out, okay, I've got something that's not going to burn in another printer to cost you another $400 or $500. Like, so you've got it. What do you do? You phone, I guess, a manufacturer of some kind. I don't know who the hell builds this paper for you. You basically call it paper mills, and you say, hey, I want to make this paper. And they say, why do you want to get into the paper industry? First question.
And you're like, am I talking to the sales team, or
I'm talking to the realist? Is what they're saying to you.
I'm talking to the owner right now. This is weird.
He's like, I'll sell you my paper mill.
I've got two for you if you want.
Well, what's funny is, like, there's no new paper mills. They don't make new paper mills, so you got to go to them. And they originally, it was really hard for us to get our materials made, because we're like, you're too small, you're going to go out of business, we're going to do all this work to do one production run, which no matter how much we charge you isn't going to be profitable. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to go dig a hole and die in an avalanche in Colorado,
Yeah.
And so 1 mil to the next mil to the next mil. And finally somebody said 100,000 sheets and we'll do 1 run. And I was like, deal. And then I was like, I'm sorry, what's that going to cost? And it was awful. It was awful.
But you were already committed. You already made the deal.
Right.
So
But I got somebody to make it at that point. Like somebody agreed. They said yes. So sort of like, okay, here's my Amex, my Visa, and my MasterCard. Let's see what happens.
And so this kidney, I sold the other one already. I'm sorry.
Are you married at this point, or have a partner at this point?
Yeah, married at this point, like just married.
So she's thrilled.
Yeah, she's thrilled that I'm spending money faster than I'm earning money big time.
Good for you. And you got the basement full pretty quick after that. Good for you.
Right. Well, that way we didn't have to remodel it.
Yeah, you're a real catch at that point, eh?
Total catch. That's why she didn't want to have kids for like the first 5 years. You know what I mean?
I don't blame her. I'd be thinking, I don't know if this is a great reproduction path with this person or not, but
yeah, she's reevaluating.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the whole thing. I mean, we have to bail. I guess we can bail on them.
Right.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
You're a beauty. That's awesome. I love this one. I just find it such a cool
I'm
story.
laughing because I spent some time at Kimberly Clark, so familiar with the dialogue that you would have with a paper mill.
I could just see them looking and thinking, what are you, nuts?
No, like, even on the other side, right? If you pitch a new product and you kind of go to those guys and go, listen, like, we want to reconfigure the line to do X. The first look is like, are you an idiot? Like, what?
You know what should cost to retool and to redo things? And how much do you have to do before we make money?
So
this is a volume game, man.
Second, third, and fourth questions.
Exactly.
And then pretty much they don't actually say it. They kick you out without saying, get out. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, they say that sounds like a really interesting project.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm like, wait, before you go, child.
Yeah. And so you say like, okay, well, hold on, before you hang up, who else do you know that I can call? And they go, nobody. Like, sorry, man. I mean, like, you don't know a single person. You don't know one person in this industry that I could call.
Thinking, I don't hate anybody that much.
And they finally would break down, and to get me to get off the phone, they'd say someone's name and mumble it, and then I'd cyber stalk them till I could get them on the phone. So all kidding aside, so how long is this process from the time that you sort of really get your shit together and say, okay, you know what, I got to do this paper thing, right? Because I got to protect my buddies when they travel. I'm gonna, So that started when, like in September of '82, or? Oh man, I don't remember the months exactly. Doesn't matter. Like close. I would say how long it took you to get to where you got. It took basically 1 whole year to go from like ideation to like having something that I could sell that someone that I don't know would pay money for. Right. It's a long time to be committed to something, right? For a lot of people anyway. Yeah, a long time to get committed. I was building, I had I had a business before this, sold it. And then this was kind of my project to like start something new. Right. So I wasn't in an immediate hurry, and I did think it would work. And I did think that there was a bigger market other than passports, but my initial, path was get these passports out, because the people that travel will be the people that I can call on for a good reference, because they're that type of person potentially. So that's what I was kind of going for in that. Cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay. So then you've got this paper, you got a paper mill to make it for you. Then what happens? You start selling passports.
Yeah. So I made a copy of everybody's passport that would scan me one. So I gave away 1 million of them, trying to get the word out. And that was good. I think I sold at least one from a referral that way. Okay. So, it's hard going in the passport business. The government really has that
lockdown.
Yeah. And so it's a bizarre sale, like how do you pick up the phone and say, hey, Phil, I know you're going on this trip. How about you throw me $10? Shoot me a passport too, eh? It's just bizarre. It's weird. Yeah. So I think the key is pivot in any startup. Like, okay, what can I do with this? And so I was looking at lamination, which is what I wanted to replace initially. Because you could laminate your passport copy. Sure, that would work, but it sucks to carry.
Right.
And so I started looking at like, okay, who laminates a lot of paper? And I was like, schools. And then I found out by calling around that schools often have one person that's, at least in the US, hopefully you guys are smarter than this, only one person in the school has the right level of insurance, workers' compensation insurance, to run the laminating machine, which means that one person laminates things for every single classroom, and it takes forever. And so teachers can't wait that long. They just get frustrated and don't do it. But what's nice is with Terraslate, they just put it in any copy machine or laser printer, and they click print, and everybody can print, no problem there. You can't laminate, but you can print. So we got into education in schools. And then we figured out that Terraslate works really well with a pilot friction pen, which is an erasable type pen. So teachers will print like the math worksheets, for instance, or like the lined paper for doing letters. And the students will fill it out. And then with like a paper towel that's wet, they can wipe the whole sheet clean. Like they can erase a whole sheet and a whole sheet and a whole sheet and a whole sheet. So they can reuse the same materials again and again and again. And the teachers loved that. So that was one of the ways we got started.
So a little bit like a dry erase board,
except in paper format.
Yeah.
It's exactly right. It's like a personal dry erase.
Like way less complicated.
And was there any particular of the disciplines that were using it more than others? Was it like in the smaller kids when they're in writing classes? Do they still write in school?
Yes.
That's a legit. Do they still write? I don't know if they still write.
Elementary school is our biggest user. Other than
I think about the most mistakes or whatever they were doing with it.
Right. Yeah. And like learning how to they tell time. They draw the time on the sheet, and then all kinds of little exercises that like we don't remember doing, but.
And how many uses can they get out of a sheet then? Like what's the life of this?
Yeah, I don't know. We've never had a complaint that somebody wore one out. So I don't know. Like restaurants use them. A lot of restaurants will change their menu every month or 3 months, but we have a lot of clients that use the same restaurant menu for 2 or 3 years at a time. They change the price once every 2 years, and they use the same 100 menus for that entire duration. So it's pretty impressive stuff. Yeah, like you can hole punch it, still waterproof. You can dishwash it. We had an MMA fighter try to rip it and punch it and kick it, and that was a good little promo we did. But yeah, cool. It's pretty durable.
That's stuff. Cool.
That's cool. That's actually quite cool.
You need to figure out a way to take it up in a Apache helicopter. You ever gotten a ride in one of those?
No, but they are in those, like the American versions. All the combat ones have our materials. So I haven't gotten a ride up there, but man, I'd like to. That would.
Yeah, you got to figure. That's got to be your next promo stunt. Is like
that's cool. That would be. Cool.
I don't know how that works. Give me like. I'm sure somewhere in this episode I'll probably blurt out an answer that maybe we could, try
find somebody.
Let's do it.
Find some way to get you in a helicopter.
So I guess I'm still trying to, because I know you're in a helicopter. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do a path in my head. So you got first, I get it. You discounted the guy 2-1. All kidding aside, that freed up some cash and got some shit out of the base so the wife wouldn't kill you. Then you decided to knock on schools.
Yeah.
Which that makes logical sense. So how do you get from there? Like, was it recommendations from the schools or the application there that you said to yourself, shit, I should phone the U.S. military or whoever else you were phoning? Like, I'm curious to see that. Like, you obviously know that this works for certain applications, whatever they might be. Education was a great one, but why how do you extend into other applications or markets or whatever?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly how you do that. And what you do is you have a customer, and then they become a repeat customer. Well, as soon as they buy the second time, you call and you say, hey, Kenny, hey, Phil, this is Kyle, president and founder of Terraslate. I just wanted to follow up, see how it's working for you. What are you using it for? How can I be helpful? What can I do to make this product better? And they'll tell you. And then at the end of the call, you say, thank you. That was so helpful. By the way, who else do you know in your industry that I ought to reach out to? And then they'll say, okay, you need to call Karen and Susan over at that school. and then you work that school, and maybe they're a buyer, maybe not. And then either way, same thing. Like, hey, Karen and Susie, who do you know? And then they say, I actually have a friend that owns a garden center. This paper would work great for her because they're constantly watering the plants, and they got to have the signs, and they always get wet, and they laminate them and they waste those. She's like, call her. Hey, this is Kyle. Susie said I should give you a call, and they say, wow, okay, I've never heard of that, but can I try some? So yeah, send them some samples. Yeah. And then they become a repeat buyer, and you say, hey, who else do you know in the garden center business? And so that's how you do it.
I still don't see how you get to an Apache, but that's pretty cool nonetheless.
So the way you get to an Apache is we sold some paper to these flight clubs in Florida, in California, and New Mexico, and they were printing their pre-flight checklists on those. Right. And one of them had a military background. And when I called him, hey, how the airplanes doing? Blue skies all around. Cool. Who do you know? And he's like, you know what? I used to work with this guy at this branch of the military. Call him, tell him I sent you. We're good buds. And if he wants to hear about the product, tell him to ask me, because I think it's great. And so that's how we got into the military.
Interesting. It's just funny though. I mean, you're obviously a salesperson to some degree, because you're very persistent, and that's usually what the trick to most of this is. I mean, you just got to keep plugging, right? And sooner or later, a door open. Plus, you're also being very, very customer service focused too. The follow up. I mean, most people won't, no matter what people think, most people will sell 15 times to the same person and never reach out. They're happy and they're thankful, and that's great. But the other person will never know that, because you just assume that it's coming, or that's you just go with it. But so to even follow up with an actual customer and saying, listen, how was it? What application did you use it for? Was it satisfactory? What else can I do for you? I mean, as much as you might think that's normal, that is really still not.
Yeah, it's
massively normal.
I think that's the way to do it, because entrepreneurs love to ask, like, well, how do you, and they love to buy ads online, but they're really expensive. Like, ads are so expensive, especially at the beginning. You don't know who
you're talking to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, so everybody's got a cell phone, and basically everybody's got a free unlimited plan, right? And you can dial a lot of numbers in 8 hours.
Absolutely. And it's cheap focus group, cheap market research.
Totally. And people are going to tell you to fuck off and die, and don't ever call this number. And
hopefully not that bad, but
but like, what works for me, and this is the weirdest analogy, but I'm going to share it with you guys because you're cool, is I try to pretend that I am a knife blade in a windstorm. And it's like, bring it on, because it goes right past. Like, none of it's sticking. It's not hurting my soul. Seeing I call you and you swear at me about my mother and my grandmother and my daughter. Okay, thanks, fella, and I'm gone, and I dial the next one before I can even think about what he just said, because then I'm on to the next one. You just let it roll, and people will not use the phone, especially like millennials today, and I am one. So I hate to bash my own kind, but they don't want to be proactive. They don't want to follow up. They don't want to call 7 times.
Too much work.
Yeah, because 6 times you got no, but then on the 7th you made a sale.
You got something.
And that's what it takes. And just so you know, because of our listeners, we're Canadian, so we want to swear at your grandmother or mother.
I appreciate
I swear at you. I have no issue with that. Like, zero. I'm going to pick on your mom and grandmother. What's the matter with you? We're not that bad.
Nana's
it's a Canadian
nice.
show,
Why
man.
We're not
going to do that. She should have left it at you. We'll swear at you all day. We don't care about you. But we can't pick on your mom.
But that there is a variation of that, right? Like, so I remember the first time I went in, my first account that I was a salesperson for was Walmart.
I'll say that was your Walmart story.
And and the guy who brought me in to kind of show me the ropes, he said to me, just remember, he's got to get a pound of flesh. He isn't going to kill you, because if he kills you, he's got to train somebody new. And I was like, what are you talking about, right? And he was so mean to me the first time, and I came out of it that guy was so mean. And he goes, what did I tell you? And I go, I don't know, something about a pound of flesh. He goes, don't fight so hard, right? He's going to take the pound no matter what.
Exactly.
Just let him take it.
Let him have it.
Once he's got the pound, it'll be fine. You'll get your sale. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. This makes a whole lot of sense, right? And then so it's really similar to your story.
Because people take it personally, though, Phil, and they lose sight of it. And to your point, Kyle, like, you know what? You're going to get beat up. So what? Be the knife in the storm, the knife blade in the storm. You stay on the straight and narrow. It's not, nothing is going to kill you. They're just words. I mean, if the guy or the girl is that insecure that they have to make you feel like a piece of shit, I mean, whatever, move on. The next one will, you got to get thick skin when you're trying to sell shit. Like, you just do.
So true. So true.
It's not easy.
And there's some tricks you can do. I love to tease them back, because like if I've called them and they're that rude, I'm not going to get a sale. So there isn't anything to lose.
You know what? Typically they're just bullies.
Totally.
And you know what? When you stand up to them, that's the guy or the girl's going to buy pallets.
Right.
And a lot of times they're just testing you.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's your pound of flesh guy, Phil. Like, you know what? There's the old school mentality where I don't know why they have it in their head. They want to just beat you with a stick to see if you stand up or something.
Yep.
And when you do, you're best friends.
Some kind. Yep.
I don't quite understand it. I mean, it's a very old way to do it, but
it is.
And most millennials, and to your credit, you weren't one of most will just say, you know what? Fuck this. I'm not going to get treated like this. And they walk away.
Totally.
You just kind of said, yeah, whatever. Next.
Yeah.
So,
new dom.
So what happens? So you start building up the business. How long does it take you to kind of hit that next level? When there's enough sales going on that, like, are you still door knocking, or like, it sounds like your business is kind of coming, your phone's ringing off the hook now. So when does that tide change for you?
About, let's see, maybe 2 years in. So I think I did like 400 or 500,000 my first year. And then we did $1 million that next year. I need to look up my numbers. Right. That's when I feel like we hit our stride. We were in an office, although it was like the quote unquote garden level where you're kind of half underground, but the realtor tries to make it sound good that you're not underground, even though your windows are only, a slip.
You can still see light. You can still see light.
We had some employees, we could see the light. That was when I felt like we were onto something, because we were getting repeat orders from like 85% of our customers.
Getting traction, man.
Wow. Yeah. So like, then I felt like, okay, we can do this now. Like, I've got help. Yeah. We know how, we know what the website needs. We know what people want. We know all 10 questions they ask us.
So how long was it just Kyle before it was Kyle and friends or whatever it was? Like, what was the scaling sort of people? Like, how did this business sort of grow?
Yes, it started in my house, as you know, with the basement. Yeah. And then when we figured out that it was profitable to print, I started with like a desktop $100 Office Max special. And that eventually didn't print paper wide enough. I needed to print 11 by 17 and 12 by 18. And so I bought like a glorified copy machine, and I was running, and that was installed in my house. Like, that was in the living room now. So we have a copy machine.
So the wife let you out of the basement and put you in the living room.
Well, I still had the whole basement at this point, because like I hadn't sold all that inventory. So the basement was still mine. And then I started taking over the living room. So I put this copy machine, and it was a big copy machine, and started printing with that. And then I figured out I needed some type of coating to go on top of the toner, because that would be the weak part eventually. Like, menus get wiped 1 million times a day. Eventually that toner starts to fade. So I developed this, back to the chemical engineers, developed this nano coating. And then I had this nano coating machine installed in my house.
In the bedroom.
And we were running, I was running the printer, copy machine, and then feeding the nano coating machine by hand. And I did that for like 6 months. Wow. And I mean, it was kind of fun. I liked being at home,
I'm happy for you. I'm surprised that she's had a child with you and still there. So
God
bless her,
too.
because you're pretty much in every room of the damn house at this point. And if I'm thinking, buddy, start turning some money here. Otherwise, this ain't going to work too long.
Absolutely. She's always been really
super patient, obviously.
But I always was waiting for the day that she came home and was like, this is a great arts and crafts project, but you need to get it out of the house. It's been way too long,
That's the she's gone downstairs for a midnight snack, and then you hear the crash.
Yeah, that's
then
right. Then you're dead.
Crap. I'm gonna climb out the bedroom window. I better not be here when she gets back.
No. Like all kidding aside, all teasing aside,
so,
that's where it becomes where a partner,
yeah,
you know, whether it's a wife, boyfriend, friend, whatever, someone needs to be on side and be patient enough to hopefully let you go through these dreams, because this is the shit that happens.
Yeah. Totally.
You know,
it's
this is not
to be
abnormal.
an entrepreneur's wife. It's awful. I mean, like, I can't imagine. Like, I've been bitching and moaning and crying to her about every little thing for the last 6 years just on this business. You know, I mean, I can't imagine listening to myself talk about that. Sometimes I just feel like I need to just, like, Kyle, shut up. Like, close your face. Like, all I can do is bitch right now. You know what I mean? And I'm like, slap me.
You're just a treat to be around, just a treat at that point.
Oh yeah, you know, and I'm like, oh, this is so bad. Oh, that's the worst. Oh, this is awful. This is broken. Website doesn't work. You know, customers are pissed. And sometimes I'm like, all right, I just need to stop. Because, like, I'm this is not only awful to listen to, but I'm having to relive it because I'm telling the story. You know, so like, okay, I'm like, enough of that. Like, I'm done. And then tomorrow I got to go get an office because, like, I got to get some employees, and I can't just have my friends coming over on the weekends and after they're done with work, like, folding menus, you know?
Yeah.
You can only abuse people for so long, right?
Absolutely. So I'm not above child labor, but as long as I know the children, you know.
Yeah. Ideally, as long as they're really close family of some kind. I mean,
right. And their parents, I can feed, you know, beer and wine for a little while.
Kind of got a game. A lot of times they want them out of the house too. So there's like a win-win.
There you go.
Somewhere into that mess.
So
this is really a lot of comments on our podcast too.
Good.
So we're gonna get shut down after this.
Yeah, I mean, it's not 180. That's 182nd podcast and the final podcast.
Yep. My cell phone number is 303.
Exactly. How many are you at now? There's you and how many?
I got 15 full time now.
Shit, man.
Wow. And I got 2 temps this week
that's a growing concern, eh?
Can't handle it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And where are you manufacturing? All out of Denver?
We actually ship everything out of Denver, but we manufacture in 3 different states.
Oh, okay.
It used to be just Texas, and then they had that hurricane. So now we do Georgia and Wisconsin also.
Okay.
Picking 2 states that have a little bit of weather issues.
Yeah.
Well, the other one's got a little bit of weather issues too, but not as bad as it used to be. Wow. Good for you, man.
So we met you through Kent and Andrew. So when do you meet ClearCo and all of this stuff?
Like, how do you even think of going to them?
Yeah.
So about, let's see, a year and a half ago, I was at a conference in Boston for this email marketing platform called Klaviyo. Mm-hmm. And we love Klaviyo, and we've been with them since, like, their second day in business or something like that. And so they nominated us as one of their fastest growing companies that they wanted to feature. And so they sent a little film crew out. We did like a little blurb, and they showed it at the conference. And while there, somebody came up and introduced themselves and said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so from ClearBank. Let me know if you ever need funding for marketing or inventory." And I laughed a little bit silently to that question. But they kind of told me what ClearBank does or did. And I was cash flow positive, so I didn't have a big need for any kind of a raise or debt, or I just didn't have a need for it. But I kept talking with them, and they were really good at following up. And then I got an email from them that said, "Hey, we're putting together this new pilot program called ClearBank Ventures, and we need a venture." And I said, "Well, all right, I like those Canadian guys. They are cool." So we started talking, and initially, I can't even remember what the initial structure was. It was something like, I give them 5% of my net receipts for the next 4 years, and they give me a suite of tools that I can use and resources at my disposal. And I actually thought that was great. I mean, I thought the percent was a little high, but as a startup guy, you don't have access to like money or connections or people that have money that have connections. Like, that is what you need. And somebody to say, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Have I lost it? Or is this a great idea? Or maybe it's an okay idea, but we should pivot." You know, like, "Hey, I'm going to make passwords. Actually, you should make everything but passwords." Like, "Oh, okay, cool." So somebody to bounce those ideas off and help us vet our vendors. that was really appealing. So that's kind of how we got started. And then, the structure of the deal changed, but we did like 100-day term that was a free walk away for everybody. So at any point, anybody could quit for that 100 days. That way, if we liked it or didn't like it, we could be honest and we would know. And they're like, okay, hey, we're trying to build this platform for other entrepreneurs. We want a ton of feedback. And they were great. So we set up a weekly call with those guys. And I was talking to them about all kinds of stuff. Like, this is what entrepreneurs need. This is what I need. This is what I need for my website. Like, I need a new marketing agency. Who do you guys know? And then, one of the things that was immediately really helpful was ClearBank would make the introduction to the marketing company. And now, instead of just a little nobody, they have been introduced to me through ClearBank, who they already had a relationship with. Now they take my account a lot more seriously. And that was great. So I'm forever indebted to ClearBank for coming up with that structure and then really letting me like go wild and tell them what I need. And then they just delivered it.
We had a good conversation with them. I'm really glad we got an example of it, because I just I was curious to see how it all played through, because it sounded really cool. Like, it did sound like a cool way to do it. There's no equity give up. To your point, it seems like a high percentage, but when you start really looking at it, the amount of money you'd have to spend anyway, and this way you're not really. I mean, it floats with what you do. If you're doing well, you're paying a higher dollar, but it's not that bad.
Right.
I kind of don't mind, because if they're helping you do well, I mean, what the hell, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, I'd rather have the help and pay for it.
Absolutely.
ClearBank is going to make a massive return on their investment with my company. And I'm thrilled to write those checks. They really do a great job.
That's awesome, man.
For instance, like, I needed to buy 2 new printing presses, and like, one is as much as your house and the other is as much as your beach house. So like, they're phenomenally expensive, and the price is not the price, like it's like buying a really expensive car. Like, there's a list price, but you're not walking out of there at that. Yeah. But like on a printing press, I don't know what the margin is. Like, there's one company that makes the best press in the world, and they're pretty tight-lipped. So I called up ClearAngel. I was like, hey guys, who do you know at Xerox? And they were like, as a matter of fact, we just hired somebody that was one of their top salespeople last year. And I was like, give me her number. I got questions. And so they set us up, and she was instrumental in getting them delivered right away and at a really good price, and getting the per print price down.
That's awesome.
And there's a million different costs with printing presses, but she was able to really explain, like, okay, these are the features that you've got to have. These are the nice to have. And here's what you need to be paying at all those levels. And I mean, that was worth the deal with ClearBank just right there. Yeah. Just right there, Yeah,
I think and we were curious about that, because I think, when we talked to Kent about it, Kent kind of explained this, and then Andrew covered a little bit of that. But, to hear it, kind of play out is really where, because that'll never make it into the marketing stuff, right? Like, when a brand goes to Clearco and tries to figure out some of the stuff, none of that'll be really apparent, because you just can't work those
how do you put that in?
Yeah. I have no idea, right? But I think that is, to us, that was a really big value to kind of that Clearco,
the understanding you're tapping into that's a shitload of resources.
It's kind of an inside man, right? Like, you've got a guy on the bench who can, and that guy or that person can literally change depending on what you need them for. But you never really have to go and source them, which is
everybody knows a guy, but it's in the same building now. I know a guy. And if I don't know a guy, the guy sitting beside me knows a guy. Someone knows a guy, right? And it's all been vetted and sort of secured. I think it's just a great way to do business.
I would say, like, I don't know about you, Kenny. Like, so Kenny and I are both consultants too, right? And I would say half the phone calls I get all day are just people going, "Hey, I need a guy. Like, I need a guy who can do this. Do you know someone? Do you know someone?" Right? Like, all the time we get those, right? Like, because.
Yeah. Do you know anybody who can do this? Yeah. I might know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah.
Or I might know the guy.
Yeah.
I might even be the guy once in a while.
There you go.
I don't know. I'm getting old. I'm way older than you. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to work anymore. So I'm maybe not the guy anymore. I know a guy.
No. Stop sticking my name in there. Like that's all he does, eh?
You're younger.
He goes, I know a guy. Hey, Phil, like stop.
I do know a guy. You just happen to be younger. You're not.
I can't. No.
You got to turn 50 before you're allowed to think of quitting or shutting it down. You're still the guy.
No.
Well, we got Kyle now. He's like 20 years behind us. He's the guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Kyle, this is really cool.
Cool story, buddy.
Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. That was really interesting.
I had a great time. You guys do a good job, man. I'm excited.
Thanks.
I'm a new fan of the show.
I appreciate that. That's
and I crush podcasts, man. I mean, like I play it in the shower. Like everyone just love content. You know what I mean? And when it's conversational and open dialogue, it's really nice when you're like doing something difficult or tedious because it's funny and lighthearted. And
listen, this is a lot of pressure, man. Now I'm feeling.
I don't know.
You guys are good, man. This is good. I love this.
Oh my God!
Hang out here all day. Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you. If people want to find you, what are the best places to find you?
Phil.Chang at
okay.
Hey, Kyle knows the guy.
Oh no!
He's smart ass too while he's at it. It's good. It's good.
I'm always available on LinkedIn, Kyle Ewing, and my email is kyle.ewing@terraslate.com. Okay. You can Google that. Let me know what you thought of the show and these guys. And man, if you got an application or if there's somebody send me a note. I'll give him a call. Follow up.
If you know a guy,
you know a
guy. Kyle wants that guy.
Kyle wants the guy.
You got it.
That's pretty cool, man.
Kyle, thank you so much. This is awesome.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story.
Yeah.
God bless your wife too. Just in case you haven't told her. I mean, hang on tight, buddy.
Will do. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll tell her you said that.
Hang on tight. That's pretty impressive. Good for you, man.
Thanks, fellas.
All right.
Have a good night.
Kyle.
Take it easy, man.
Take care.
Ciao.
See ya.
That's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool.
That was cool. That was cool.
Funny how people just get they get stuck on an idea, and come hell or high water, that idea is going to happen. And
it's such a fine line, though. It's such a fine line,
right? It is
a
fine line
because you and I have definitely met people that you go,
you took it way too far.
You should have way too far. That's so excessive. Yeah. Like that's just crazy. And yet he's right on the edge there. Like,
yeah,
I think we'll do it 7 times, and then he does it 14.
I think what it was maybe because I think we both have examples of people have done it, not just with the time component, but there's been a shitload of cash or they're borrowing against houses. It didn't sound like, because I didn't want to get overly personal with Kyle, not for any other reason, that maybe the next time we talk to him, we can do that.
But he did though. He said 2 or 3 or like 4 mortgage payments. Okay, all right.
So I was listening to him and saying, don't take this out of context. I think he had to put money into it. But to me, it didn't sound like he had gone, like, to me, he's right on the edge, but he's not, because it didn't sound like he had overly financially committed. Like if he had put $100,000, $150,000 into it and the house is mortgaged out. Then I'm thinking, buddy, I mean, insanity. God, I'm really happy at work, but Jesus Christ, like that was playing Russian roulette. But it sounded like he was financially smart-ish. He's just freaking persistent. Right. And again, I mean, I love people that, because I don't know if I'm that guy sometimes. Like I'll push it, but I'll get to a point where I'll think, you know what? Nah, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to worth it. But he's just relentless.
I think to be honest, for me, life is too comfortable. Like transparently, right? Like
I
the
think
money thing really.
Maybe it's an older thing too. It's just different.
No, but maybe the money thing really resonates, though, right? The money thing really resonates. Like, when I was like 28 and I really needed money, I didn't know I had that, so I worked 2 jobs, 3 jobs. It was okay. Do you know what I mean? Like no big deal, right? Like, but now, money's okay. So
and I don't want to
really
work 3 jobs. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to do that. No.
I'm not going to grind like that, right? So,
no, I'd rather be the guy.
Yeah.
You know, the one that I know the guy. I want to be the guy. I don't want to do I don't want to do the work, but I mean, I think that's pretty cool. I mean, I think, I mean, I just love listening to these stories. I do. I just do. I get a kick out of, I get a kick out of these people that just do these just cool things.
And thankfully we didn't follow the normal format, because had we had him, because I think Kyle, we may have to have him back on, because I think he's actually owned other businesses before this too.
Right.
And we jumped into Terraslate and got into it right away. Normally, we kind of meander through their life a little bit more, but
that's also because of how we got
run out of time.
Yeah, so. How we got the reference to and stuff like that too, right? Because it did come through Kent, so it was already that we wanted to hear about this particular story.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'd even just like to have him back on even in a year and see where the hell he's got.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's pretty impressive. 15 employees, got a good gig going, man. Good on him.
Yeah.
Good on him.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
cool,
very
dude.
cool.
All right.
Okay. Stop recording and then we'll chat.